Hey, and happy Friday! I'm so delighted to be bringing you my astrology topic and update for this week. I do this every Friday on my YouTube channel, Evolve with Grace. You'll find me under Evolve with Grace, Stella Grace. And it's just a joy to bring you the astrological energies for this incredibly fascinating and shifting time to be alive. I mean, it's just uncanny, isn't it? What we're working through, what we're changing, how we're growing, how we're evolving. It's just, not always easy, but certainly an absolute privilege and absolutely fascinating to be a part of. So, the astrology, if you've heard any of my shows on Kind of Sound, or if you've heard me talk about the astrology before, you'll know that I don't believe in giving our power away to the planets. To me, the planets are like a reflection of us and have aspects that reflect us. So it's just fascinating to see how things are playing out and how that is reflective in the systems and in the collective and in our individual lives. So we get to look at these energies with awareness and we get to then utilize them. It's about making these things work for us by thinking about our frequency, thinking about how we can align to a higher frequency sometimes, and to use these energies to really support us in the best way we can to really thrive and to support each other as well through these changing times. So the system, new systems are go, is the very poignant topic today. And there's lots of astrological, I don't say evidence, but that sounds a bit clinical, but there's lots of astrology going on, both short term and long term, that supports this huge restructuring of our current system. Actually, it's more like it's already been collapsing for some time. If you are aware of energies and aware of how things on the world stage have been playing out for some time, things are changing. It's already happening. And this is the topic title today. New systems are already go. It's just taking some time for us to see the new systems manifest in our realities because although the things are happening, also more and more of us are aligning to thinking about how the new systems will work. And the more of us that do that, and the more of us embrace the frequency of the new, the more it will show up in our tangible reality as a physical thing. So I'm going to talk to you about that. I'm going to talk about the astrology that supports that. And we're also going to have a quick look. I'll be looking down. I've got my chart here for the week ahead. So if you see me looking down, I'll be looking at the chart. And we're going to talk a little bit about what the planets are doing for this week ahead as well. But to kick off, our topic for today, New Systems Are Go, is all about the fact that structurally things have been changing for some time, as I mentioned, and that is really reflected in what I noticed this week about the astrology, a really beautiful midweek point. Now, this is a very short term astrological aspect, but in the middle of this week, on the 13th of May, we have the Sun and Uranus meeting. Now, this is quite fleeting, but what it reminded me of was, a real pinnacle point of how many factors that point to our systems changing, the old systems collapsing. And by systems, let me just clarify, meaning that the powers that be, the powers that have been in authoritarian power and how they have been in authoritarian power is all up for change. And we've got many areas in the sky reflecting this energy of how things have been changing for some time and are continuing to change. And it's for the better. It's for the more supportive energy for all, for supporting the collective, for evolving together, for being less conditioned by certain aspects such as consumerism and the system in itself is reflective in the education system that's changing and up for renewal. How we work, the working week is the system, in terms of a 30, 40, 50 hour week, not actually being very good for us at all. More and more people are doing things differently now. How we do wealth, how wealth is distributed, all up for renewal. And there's lots of factors within that. So, as I said, midweek, we have Uranus touching the Sun fleetingly. Now, Uranus is the planet of change, it's the planet of revolution, it's the planet of shaking things up that can sometimes, in the short term, feel a little bit inconvenient or chaotic or abrupt. But always, always, always with Uranus energy, it's bringing about change that was needed, because we can't stay the same, we can't stay stagnant. And Uranus energy really supports us with shifting things up. And this is usually in a way that is for more of a humanitarian good or for the collective good. It's also very reflective of the new age, new ways of working, new technology systems, Bitcoin, new things like this, of how the systems that we've been currently used to, the banks, for example, is another example of how the system is changing and shifting. All of this being really, really up for change. Now, we've got that short-term point in the midweek with Uranus and the Sun, but there's lots and lots of long-term astrology that really supports our systems changing. And the fact that Uranus itself is in the sign of Taurus is also showing us how things are really shifting up with our system. Taurus is the material realm, it's the physical earth plane, it's how we do our material possessions and wealth, it's how we do our structure and our security and our stability. And so with Uranus traveling through the sign of Taurus, we get to really shift things up in all those areas, because Uranus being the rebellion with a cause, we want to say it's good use of Uranus energy when the rebellion has a cause. We don't want mindless rebellion. That's not what Uranus energy at its core, I don't believe, is about. So it's about bringing about change that serves the collective. And we've certainly got that happening. And for the few years that Uranus will be in Taurus, we've already seen incredible changes, and we'll be seeing more. And it's all that change to structure. So that's a really big, longer term indicator of how our new systems are go. There's also Saturn dissolving away through Pisces there, our structures in the background. Now, this is a transit I've been touching on for some time. It's been in place for a while, and it's got a bit longer to go yet. And Saturn is it's our structures also. It's our the authority, it's the disciplinarian, it's how we look at our responsibility, it's all the things that we need, it's law and order, it's those kind of things as well. And of course we need that disciplinarian structure in our lives. But what Pisces, when it's moving through Pisces, what's that doing is it's bringing a dissolving energy that's looking more at the collective, because Piscean themes are about, the watery depths, but also about the collective. So with Saturn there, we've got a real opportunity, and this has been happening for some time, because it's really renewing our faith. Lots, as I said, is up for renewal, and Saturn in Pisces is really supportive of that. The faith that we have placed in others, and the faith that we have placed in the structures and in the powers that be, all up for renewal. Where we place our power, how we have placed that so externally than within ourselves, all up for renewal. Again, touching back on the banks being a big part of our structures, up for renewal. All of the things, the wealth system, the education system, all up for renewal, because of these shifting energies. The astrological energies are really, really fascinating at this time for this continuation of the collapse of old structures, and about time too. So we get to, really use these energies to support this by being aware of it, really. And that's the beauty of astrology. That's one of the things I really love about astrology. It gives us a bit of a roadmap, so it doesn't necessarily make things easy. It doesn't necessarily mean that we can, change things, but we can certainly go with the flow of them by understanding the energy of them more. And that's really helpful. And when we have that awareness and we have that understanding, we get to navigate from a choice point that is more aware, that we have, more positive power from, because we can look at it and make that decision. And this is why I'm really passionate about, talking about the energies. because with that awareness we get to grow more. We get to I feel like it enables us to fast track our evolution when more and more of us are having these conversations, when we're connecting in like-minded ways that think about frequency, that think about how we're more supportive of each other, that think about the rebalancing of huge misuses of power and greed and money and all of the things that we've been very aware of, that we can still see and that have been going on for some time. And this isn't saying that by the end of next week this is all going to be sorted, but what's really inspiring to me is that things have already changed. Things are already changing. This isn't happening, it's already happening. This isn't happening in the future, this is already happening now. This has been happening. And so I think it's a really great conversation point to keep it on the agenda, because the more of us that are connecting and thinking about how things are more equal, more fair, more just, more supportive for others, the more we can be growing in that direction. And if you've heard me talk before as well, you'll know that I'm a big fan of manifesting our realities. And what I mean by that, again, is not making wishes in the sky and hoping they come true. It's not fluffy like that. It's about frequency, and it's about adopting to a higher frequency. So again, having these conversations helps to shift our frequency up, helps to shift us into that way of thinking. You probably have heard, it's not a new thing that our thoughts shape our reality. So it's been understood by science, if you like, for a long time, that how we observe things, how we act, how we think, how we behave has an impact on the outcomes. That's measurable now. Energy is measurable in that way. So it's a really great opportunity, as always, to look at what's going on, look at what we'd like to see, and focus on that rather than how things maybe still are. So what I mean by that is a focus on how we wish things to be, rather than how the current system being at play in large ways. We want to focus on what we're bringing in, not on what we're seeing, if that makes sense. So it's about shifting our thoughts sometimes to a higher frequency, or shifting them to a higher understanding of possibilities, if nothing else. It's understanding that there's possibilities infinitely all the time, and we get to be co-creating with that. So we don't, and I think this is, again, reflective of the energy, and thinking back to what I was saying about Saturn and so much of the faith, where we've placed faith being up for renewal. We now get to think about how we can shift things up, and we can be more in our power. And that's really reflective of this. So it's a really exciting time. So Saturn in Pisces isn't the only area, and neither is the short-term influence of Uranus going over the Sun, or Uranus and the Sun meeting midweek. We've also got Pluto in Aquarius. Now, Pluto, the big heavyweight that changes things again on a structural level through death and rebirth cycles. Interestingly, Pluto themes are power and control, and looking at where that is placed, and looking at how imbalances of power occur and misuse of power. Now, Pluto is in Aquarius, so it's been shifting in and out of, in between Capricorn and Aquarius for some time, for a few years now. And what that means, and what that's really interesting to think about in terms of this topic, is Pluto, when it was in Capricorn, was all about the system and that death and rebirth cycle of the system, because Capricorn is very much about structures and authoritarianism, and building legacies, and thinking about how we work, our drive, our ambition, all of the things that kind of again related to the earth realm. Capricorn's an earth sign. So when Pluto was there, it was very much looking at, death and rebirth cycle of those areas, which is very, very linked to the system. And now going into Aquarius, And it will be dancing a little bit between Capricorn and Aquarius until I think about September, I believe. Aquarius is about the people, ultimately. Aquarius is about humanitarianism, it's about the collective, it's about it's much more about equality than Capricorn. Capricorn can be more of a top-down approach. It can be more of a leader and again that kind of hierarchy. Whereas Aquarian energy, Pluto bringing its death and rebirth cycle through the sign of Aquarius, it's all about the collective and really supporting more of the global community. So that's really fascinating, and we've got that rumbling on for the next 20 years. And this is what I mean by these changes obviously don't happen overnight, but they sure are happening. That is absolutely clear. And 20 years time is going to look incredibly different to where we are now. And so I think it's really helpful to hold that vision, actually, because this stuff is impacted in our lifetimes, albeit further down the line, but it's absolutely for our next generation as well. And so to think about that, to think about the legacy that we're part of creating at the moment, incredible opportunity to think about empowering ourselves by thinking about the next generation, not thinking so short term. Actually, what do we want? What do we want? How do we want to affect the system that will be for our children? How do we want to create the new system for our next generation? Is just a huge thing to think about, and a huge empowering tool, actually. So it's fascinating stuff. We've also got Neptune in Pisces coming towards the end of that cycle, but again it's very much this dissolving, again going back into the Piscean themes. It's very much a dissolving into more of a collective feel. So again, it's another representation of that. So that's quite a bit about our new systems being a go, 100%. And we get to work with that energy. And I'd love to hear in the comments how you're working with a new system, a new structure, how you're seeing it unfold, how you're feeding into it by your thinking and your thoughts and your actions. I'll share some of mine. So mine is very much opting out of a traditional full-time working week. Now, that doesn't mean I don't work, and that doesn't mean I don't spend a lot of time doing the things I need to do to grow my business and to, do things like this, create content. But I don't structure it in a way that is designated to kind of enslave me, if you like, to a system. So I work really flexibly. I take beach breaks. I have surfing days. I, have self-care basically. And so, and I've had to create that. So it's really up to us. It might be that we're shifting values. This is the other thing. We've got Venus going through Taurus as well. So we've got lots of Taurian energy, which, as I mentioned before, is about our material realm and our structures. And Venus going through there is also giving us an opportunity to really embody our values differently in a more abundant way. And it could be about money, but it doesn't have to be about money. This is the thing. And it might be, we're thinking about the renewal of faith and values, then we might think differently about doing everything for money. We might actually more value creating some money, because there's nothing wrong with that. Also, we're not saying money's bad. Money's not good or bad. Money is just a currency, just another energy. So we want to remove the stigma of money as well. But we're also, what we have an opportunity to do here also is to not just purely be driven by money. And this is the other thing that's changing, our values, as well as how we redistribute our wealth, all of that up for renewal. So, we may start to value working a 3-day week more, because that's more intrinsic to our whole health, our holistic health, our health on mental, emotional and physical well-being. And if that means less money, then actually we might get paid in resources, in inner resources, in time, feeling well, in healing, in feeling in our light and feeling able to inspire and support others, because we might have more time, be less stressed, be less rushing. All of these things are up for our negotiation, up for our choice, how we do things. And if you're somebody who loves your 9 to 5 and you're happy in your job, then amazing. But many people I know are not, and that is really up for an opportunity for shifting and changing at this time. So if you're not, I really invite you to look at how you could reduce your week. Other ways are, we might be starting to think about how we want to maybe school differently or parent differently, or be more autonomous in some ways that just feel more aligned to our values. That's another way we can really think about restructuring the system. Writing books, creating. A good friend of mine, the lovely Lucy Davis, do check her out on socials and her YouTube channel, Lucy Davis 2222. We've had a couple of great chats lately, and she talks about really encouraging other people to write books at this time, because we are creating a new Earth library. This is a beautiful. I just thought that was absolutely stunning, and I happen to be writing a book at the moment. It's one of the things that I'm really passionate about and doing as we speak behind the scenes. So it's a great time. We are creating the new. We are a part of that, and I think it's really empowering to remember that, because so much negativity goes on out there. The system also wants to pull back as it's collapsing. It also wants to bring in fear agendas and tactics, and consumerism is ongoing, and how we've been conditioned with food. There's so many things that are challenging, actually, and that can really kind of feel like we're up against it. And it's not to say those things are easy, but actually, if we think about how we can, even on however a small a basis, implement some changes that go towards what we want to see, and how we want to create a new system, which also starts with how we create our lives, how we do our day. These can be really short-term, quick changes that can actually be really empowering, because they can lead to super big things, like how your whole week suddenly looks different. That this creates a tangible reality in time. The whole system will be looking different. So it's a really, really inspiring and empowering time if you choose your thoughts, if you choose your actions. We get to choose, we get to pick a lot of the time. Obviously, there is, lots of things that go on that are outside of our control, and that's going to always be a part of being human and doing this human experience. But also, where there is a lot of things that we do get to co-create with, and how we respond to things as well is huge for us, and a lot about our frequency. So I'm going to finish today on thinking about our frequency, thinking a little bit about Venus as well. My last video was new moon, rich ground. How did you feel, actually, by the way, after the new moon? How did you ride the new moon? I thought it was really lovely, calming energy, and I've just felt that knocking off a bit. But I thought the actual new moon itself was quite calming and lovely. And then, just kind of feeling that wearing off a little bit. But it's still really Lux ground, because we've still got Venus going through Taurus for the rest of the month. And as we discussed in that video, Venus brings a touch of Lux and abundance. And again, that real kind of connection and embodying with our self-care, with our physical vessels, with our values. So still all of these things. I'm doing a May daily blessings challenge as well, to think about finishing on frequency. So a great tool for shifting up your vibe in 5, if you want to kind of put it in that term. A quick high vibe, quick tip and tool is counting your blessings every single day, counting your blessings. And it's phenomenal, the frequency momentum that happens with this. So the more you notice your blessings, however small, the more blessings you will notice occurring. It's just again, it's, I don't necessarily like to use the word, but it's a science in terms of, science goes so far, but it's been measured that this energy, we can work with energy and frequency in this way by focusing on it. What we give our focus to, we give momentum to. So really fascinating there to work with those tools and work with your frequency, I really invite you to do that and let me know how you get on. I've had some incredible blessings so far in the month. It's only early still, so there's lots more of May, and I kind of like to do this every day anyway, really think about the blessings in my life, think about what I'm grateful for, and it's a great frequency. And of course, you know, I don't always feel great like everybody else. We have our dips, we're still humaning. It's, you know, let's be real. So that's why we do these tools. That's why I'm so passionate about these tools and having these conversations, because you know, we get to support each other and we get to raise our frequency and shift our lives up to, you know, the next best version of ourselves, if you like. We get to give each other a leg up, and we get to, you know, choose a lot of what we do and really make that change for the better, which anything we do on ourselves in terms of our frequency and any of our choices really supports the collective as well. It's like a ripple effect. So on that note, enjoy your day, enjoy your energy, play with your frequency, have a go with the May Daily Blessings Challenge and see how you get on with that. And watch this space. I look forward to seeing you next Friday. Much love.